welcome to Camnet TV's breakfast show. We are rising and thriving this particular morning. It is a Thursday morning, and thank you so much for choosing us amongst many. I'm Tapelo Joe Smarter. Now, this morning we discuss a number of issues from the Copper Belt to Lusaka to Western Province to Northern, Southern, and Eastern province of this particular country. Of course, relating to them regionally in Africa and going global. Now, to help me discuss a number of important national matters is Mr. FABIAN MUTALE. He is a NDOLA-based governance expert. Mr. MUTALE, good to see you and welcome.
I'm actually a democracy advocate. Good morning, Mr. Smarter, and good morning, viewers, those following us on Facebook. You always forget to tell people that in the advent of load shedding, if their phones are charged, they can follow your TV station on Facebook.
Of course. Since you're a democracy advocate, seems like you're advocating for us to go global, which we have done. Now, just a gentle reminder to you, our viewers, that we are live on Topsa Channel 106 and also on Facebook, YouTube, and the Ken Stream app. Do make sure that you subscribe to our socials, and let's get interactive this particular morning. Come through on the number that will be scrolling on your TV screen, as well as on Facebook and YouTube. Do engage so that we can have a wonderful discussion. Mr. MUTALE, without wasting much of our viewers' time, let's get into it. You are coming from the Copper Belt, and Copper Belt is faced with its own challenges as well. But maybe to zero it in before we go countrywide, what are some of the pressing issues currently on the Copper Belt?
Well, the Copper Belt, since the coming in of the new Don government, you know, the mainstream economic driver for the Copper Belt has been mining.
Okay.
So on that score, I think people are seeing hope in terms of the reviving of the mining sector, though some mines have not yet gone to full production capacity, but it is a window of hope, and people are optimistic. Just last week, the president was there to even look at the shaft in Rwansha, which was closed for over 20 years. We've seen what has been happening in terms of Amopani and KCM, where contractors now are getting some payments, though there is some challenges. But overview, it is a window of hope in terms of mining. However, the aspect of domestic hardships are still there. People are still trying to settle in terms of the cost of living, which to some extent has affected the entire country. But all things being equal, Copper Belt seems to be having a window of hope in terms of mining.
Okay, fantastic. Now let's go countrywide and look at some of the socio-economic challenges that Zambia is facing, Mr. MUTALE. Recently, or should I say 48 hours ago, we saw a clip that went viral of the Vice President, her Honor, Madam W.K. Mutaena, in a clip that is on social media, and it has gone viral on different social media platforms, where she was captured saying, even if you vote the new Dawn out, you still remain poor. Now, obviously, there's a context, a background to which had necessitated her saying that, and that was just a clip that was taken from what she was saying. But some sections of society have interpreted that clip differently, and some sections of society are saying that particular clip, they're interpreting it differently. I'm sure you have seen it. What is your
Mr. Smarter? You know, that is why we say, in whatever we do in our living, we should have what I call a sense of occasion.
Okay.
And as politicians, I advise that we should always strive to be politically correct whenever we are addressing the masses, especially at a time when most Zambians are charged economically. What the Vice President said could have had context context in itself. But my advice is may the politicians, especially those in government, not speak off the cuff.
Okay.
That is my advice. May the politicians, especially those in government, not speak off the cuff, because once you give your heartfelt comments on matters that border on the lives of the people, you may stray and injure a lot of people. The vice president could have meant well, could have had a better interpretation of her words, but I'll flow with the masses. It is wrong to tell people that even if you vote us out, you continue being poor. The vice president literally was admitting that yes, the Zambians are still poor, and probably the government is not doing anything to remedy the situation. That is the literal interpretation, and that is what has been carried out. So I implore the politicians, especially those in government, the vice president, that everyone charged with addressing the masses, can they stick to script so that they don't give their personal statements, especially publicly so.
Okay. Now, there has been a concern again. I heard you mention in your opening remarks that the president recently was on the Kuba Belt. And talking about the president, there has been a concern that he seems to be a loner when it comes to the fight against corruption. Pronouncements start and end with him. And the pronouncements that he makes, the country does not see those that he instructs. They are not seen to carry out his instructions. Examples, for instance, within 4 years, I did make mention of couples reuniting in the education sector, or just civil servants reuniting with their families. We saw this process not taking off. We made our own preliminary investigations. We were told the ministry was overwhelmed because there was the recruitment that was going on. So it was a challenge. It was put on hold. It has since died a natural death. We saw him after that, obviously making different pronouncements. However, there's a concern that these pronouncements start and end with him.
The list is endless. I remember on this platform I mentioned that our President Hakainde Hichilema, seems to be a loner, which I can quantify and qualify. Look, the president has made so many pronouncements that I feel the government, the mainstream people that are supposed to carry the vision of the president don't run with it, including the party functionaries.
Okay.
There are a number of issues. For instance, we've mentioned the issue of reuniting families. It is imperative that when a president makes a pronouncement, he's giving a policy direction. He's also telling the lieutenants, the ministers, the PSCs, the directors to say, this is what my vision is. Who should be the vision carriers? It's those that he's charged the responsibilities, he's delegated duties to. If they don't carry out, everyone points at the presidency. How can we protect the presidents if we are not carrying out his pronouncements? Just recently, I'll give an example. Right now, people are talking about the cyber security law, the amendment of the constitution. I remember at State House, he held a meeting with the chiefs, where he challenged the chiefs to say, look here, the opposition are screaming loud to say the president wants to increase his term, the president wants to remove the running mate. He presented a document with 13 points where the government has proposed to make amendments. And none of the issues the opposition are raising was on the list. I expected the party functionaries, including those in government, to run with the narrative so that the president's pronouncements are sent to the people. You know, what I feel now is like the UPND government has got the flock, but they have left the flock to be fed by strangers. That is the narrative.
Where is the shepherd then?
Is he? No. The shepherd seems to be busy elsewhere. The shepherd are the ministers, the PSCs, the DCs, and the party leadership. The president right now has said, look here, we as a country need to amend the constitution for purposes of remedying those issues we had raised while we were in the opposition, those things that the people were complaining about, the famous lacunas, or lacunae as the learned councils would say. People are not being enlightened. They have left the opposition to drive the agenda. And once in politics, once you don't drive an agenda, you react to what the opposition are saying. People will start looking at you as doing propaganda or playing to the gallery. This is what has made the UPND government look like they are not doing anything. I've always said, it is not fact that the UPND government, despite their shortcomings, have not done anything for the past 4 years. But what is the narrative being peddled? Because the opposition have seen a weakness in information dissemination by the UPND and the leadership in terms of party functionaries as well as ministers. They have now driven an agenda picking only the weaknesses of the UPND and amplified them. And it is doing justice to the opposition and not to the government in place.
You talked about the flock being left being left alone. And you are referring to the flock as UPND party functionaries, members of the public, and the shepherd as the ministers, the permanent secretaries,
the DCs,
yes, government senior officials, senior government officials, if you like. Now, my question is this being done deliberately, or, for lack of a better term, it's ignorance?
No.
Which one is which?
What I feel, and this is my honest opinion, should be respected. I feel like I had indicated earlier, the president has surrounded himself with, I think, professional crooks. Those people,
Come again?
Professional crooks politically. Those people that understand the dynamics of politics, whose aim is to enrich themselves, while the president wants to lead the country, but his lieutenants have got personal agendas. If indeed they meant well for the presidency and wanted to help him, they would have ensured that each and every pronouncement he makes, they carry and run with it. But what we've seen is that the president seems to be going east, while the lieutenants are going west.
Okay.
Look at what has been happening even in some pronouncements by some ministers and some PSCs. You find that they actually contradict themselves on so many issues. Why the contradiction? Because each and every person that is given an opportunity to be in front of a camera, they want to do that which appeases them first. That's why you've seen at a number of times people in government seem to be defensive. They always want to be seen to be justifying one wrong after the other. And yet, if they had done the right thing initially, they wouldn't even be justifying. Now people are actually saying they should form a ministry of press briefings and justifications. Why? Because they are not running the agenda. They are not running the agenda. If they had been setting the agenda, they shouldn't be holding press briefings to justify one thing after the other, one thing after the other. It should have been the opposition now to be shamed. Because once you are doing the right thing, you have nothing to justify.
Are you then referring to the Bemba proverb that translates, and I quote, Inama yisuma irombero muchere?
Ichinonene. In fact, it's ichinonene chirombero muchere. You know, when you're doing good, people will just flow with you, and they will just be there for you. But it seems